Let's see. This light is kind of weird. It was right in my eyes, so I moved it, and now it's not as good. Hold on. See if that's better. Not really. Oh, goodness. I know if I got some third-party software, I could look at this in advance and figure it out, but I barely have time to get the dishes done and get videos made. So can you hear me okay? Everybody, I hope. Gosh, I just cleaned my glasses. Hello, Patricia and Sherry. 13 of you are here. Please just go ahead and say hello. So get the chat going. If you're shy, just say, hi, I'm Julie and I live in Maryland or whatever. And I have a garden. That would be awesome. Really would appreciate that. Get things off to a good start. Okay, welcome to my live stream. This is, I should know what day this is. This is my son's birthday, October 20th. Oh, do I remember all those years ago. I went into labor. Well, my water broke 2 full days before he came. And they were just about, I was determined to have, this was 31 years ago now. And people were really especially in California anyway, they're really into natural childbirth. And I was all gung-ho. There was no way I was going to have drugs, and went to see, now I know this is a very, very violent movie, but went to see, what was it? It was, oh, good grief. I'm so out of it now. I can't even think of my directors or names or anything. It was De Niro and, all the Italian guys. It was one of those stories. And it was, you can probably help me out and tell me what movie came out 31 years ago. Scorsese. Thank you. Martin Scorsese. Goodfellas. Don't look it up. I just remembered. Goodfellas. And went to see that after I had been having labor pains for, let's see. No, that's not true. I went to see the movie and about my due date, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And my water broke after that movie that night. And I thought, okay, here we go. Next morning I report into the hospital and she goes, go home. You're fine. You don't need to be here yet. Went home, did a lot of walking around the neighborhood and all this stuff. And I can't remember too well now, but I think I checked in that night. And then the next morning I checked in again and she goes, So I went back in the afternoon and they said, if we don't induce your labor, you're going to have to, let's see, what did they say? You might have to have a cesarean or something like that. I hadn't thought about talking about this. It just came out of me. And I said, oh, no, I don't want to have drugs. No, I got a bad back. I want to have this child naturally, like squatting if possible, like the natives do, I don't want to be laying in bed. My back will kill me. I won't be able to push him out. And they go, sorry. So I had to have all after all, and just was really sad about that. But hey, the good news is he was, born healthy, and it was a total of about almost 48 hours from the time that my water broke. I think he came about 8 p.m. or something. The sun had just set. I had the windows open, Santa Monica Hospital, sun was going down. I remember that. Anyway, enough of that. But anyway, it's his birthday today. And as you know, if you've been watching my channel, I bought him prepping gear, Well, I gave it to both of them, They didn't have any stored water. They didn't have, an extra gas can. They didn't have propane tanks for the generator, and they had some leaking around the back door. And so I said, well, let's get at least a half a dozen sandbags and sand and, all of this kind of thing. And I said, you got to have an axe. Hey, you're a homeowner. You got to have an axe. So I bought him an axe. I said, you're a homeowner. You got to have a sledgehammer. So I bought him a sledgehammer. So that was his birthday present early. So welcome, everyone. Now we have 24 people here. You just heard the story of the birth of my son, the only child I bore. And it was quite something. So welcome to my channel. I am a city girl. I just started putting this in my description because this is what I am. I'm a city girl, urban gardener turned, it's really homesteader in training. I want to say homesteader in training is what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to be an inspiration to anybody else like me who's older, who wants to experience this, has always wanted to experience it and has never done it. And I say, take this step, if you can afford to, or if you can work with somebody, take the step. You don't want to get to the end of your life and say, oh, I wish I'd done that. Like I'm going to get to the end of my life and go, oh, I wish I was on Broadway. That's always been my dream. And that has not happened. So, but anyway, at least we are here. And I am excited that I have some fun videos. Today's a fun video. I know the yesterday's video was a little down because so many things went wrong in the garden, but not to worry. I am thrilled that I had the opportunity to learn. Gardening and farming is an education. It's the education of a lifetime. You never learn it all because just when you kind of got a handle on it, there's some sort of invasive bug that moves in, just like this stink bug that somebody was telling, my brother was telling me about that. We talked about that on another live stream. There's this stink bug that's taking over. It started, I think he said, what did I say? Pennsylvania. And now it's just going everywhere. It's a light gray stink bug. In fact, I had one crawling. They love to go right along that, but fortunately they don't move that fast. And if you grab your ladder, you can squish them pretty easily. So let's see who's here. Daryl is here. Obama Gardner is here. Let's see. Daisy Joe. Mission Point on Mackinac Island. Oh, I don't know. I can't explain YouTube. Who knows how YouTube works? I just don't know why some people get notified and others don't. Thank you, Claudia. I hope everyone will watch the HOA, not HOA like homesteaders. Homeowners Association. It's Homesteaders of America Conference. I love to promote other people. I would like for other people to promote me. But hey, if that's not happening, I'm still going to promote other people because I think we all need to hear this message, how they did it, what they're doing, and everybody I met had an interesting story, all doing something a little different ages. Some people retired, some people working, some young families, it was a real mix. And so I hope you'll go back and watch those videos. I worked very hard on those and I would love for them to be widely seen. I've heard from a number of people that they think my Homesteader of America videos are the best they've seen. And it's probably because I just worked really hard to get around and show you. I always think how can I make you feel like you were there? Like if I go and I do a public garden, what would I want to see? I would want to see, all the plants and how they're arranged and get the feeling of, going through the garden and, what it's like. And, so that's what I try to do. I work very hard at that. So I hope you guys will share that series. If you know if you saw any of your favorite YouTubers on my videos, like Stiver's Homestead, the Holler Homestead, of course, Doug and Stacy, let's see, Justin Rhodes. I mean, I didn't get a chance to talk to Justin Rhodes, unfortunately, but maybe he'll hear about my videos. But anyway, if you saw any that you really like, please, when you leave a comment on their videos, just say, hey, I saw you guys on Kaye's channel. Check it out. Leave the link of the video that you're talking about, that they're in. And of course, I want to reach out. I haven't had time, and I want to, post on their social media and say, hey, check out the video. You're in it. Thank you, Gina. Gina says that's the way she felt. And other people have told me that too. I've been doing that for a long time, though. I mean, I really have. Since my first trip, when I first started my channel, was 2012. So I'm coming up, I'm coming up on my 10th anniversary on Earth Day in April. So I think my first away trip, away from town, was to the 2013 National Heirloom Expo. And I was in a Facebook group when I first started, a California Facebook group. And I think maybe one of those people still follows me. And Luis was in there. Now, I haven't heard from Luis since I moved to Tennessee. So if you guys are still following him or anything, you have to jog his chain and say, hey, you better go say hi to Kaye. Anyway, that was the first trip I did. And then I did so many more after that. I went around the country, different places in the country, especially Phoenix. And of course, I did the trip in 2017 to Europe. And I did, I think, 17 videos in England and 3 in Holland, and several in northern Germany with Runka. And they kind of stopped there. I never quite finished the series. I was supposed to do a video in Berlin and then back in Brooklyn on the way back. And that didn't happen. So now we have 32 people. I hope you'll go ahead and take a moment and just hit that like button. And if you're just joining my channel, I hope you'll subscribe. I am a late bloomer gardener and homesteader. And I have just finished my first garden season, kind of finished, almost finished. Still got some things to do, but for the most part, it's over for, hi. That's BJ. She's looking at me through the window. For the most part, we're done for this year. And this is my first season gardening in Tennessee ever. So I have been gone from Tennessee for 40 years. I lived in Manhattan and I lived in LA. I was an actor, so I just went from one to the other. And then I started my gardening almost 9.5 years ago. So in LA, I had a tiny little space. And a lot of you watched my channel back then, and you know how I loved it. It was just, I tried to make it as beautiful and as lush and as forest-like as a tiny little garden could be. I had a lot of variety of plants. Many plants were originally from Australia. And, because at some point in the development of LA, a lot of the plants, because Australia had a similar climate, and they brought a lot of plants over from Australia and South America, Brazil. But anyway, I tried to cram as much as I could in that tiny little space. And I was always wishing for more space and really just wondering what I could do if I actually had space. Well, now I do have space. And now I know Now I know very clearly that I have to have help if I want to maintain this much space. And for all of those of you who are wondering, Justin is not working for me now. I am on my own, and I will probably have to find somebody to work, which was always my plan. I had never entertained the notion of having a full-time employee indefinitely. I couldn't afford to do that. So I had hoped that we could have gotten more of the projects that we started done, but that didn't happen. So I'm okay. I'm going to be fine. I keep saying I'm going to be fine. And I'm going to take the advice of many of the people who have shared their thoughts with me, just to rein it in, do what you can, and I'm going to work from that premise. My goal is to prepare the beds that I have for the winter. And there's still a lot of work to do, and I'll be showing that in videos. And then I'll start planning, what I'm going to do next year. My biggest goal is to get that area over by the raised beds neatened up, cleaned up, and all the weeds, I'm still looking for wood chips, if you can believe it. I have been on chip drop. I've had a chip drop request on chipdrop.com for months and have not gotten a response. So I'm going to have to reach out, get on the phone, start calling people. My mower suggested someplace I could call, so I got to get on that. Because I've got the cardboard. It's all folded in there, ready to go down. But as you know, last spring, we put all that cardboard down and it blew off, and we put it down and it blew off, and we put it down and it blew off. So it's not going down until I have the wood chips. So some good news, my mowers, the person that works for my mower, they slow down in November, and he may be helping me in the garden one day a week. We'll see how that goes, and I'll be sure and talk about that. So what is going on today? Let me say hello. Oh, Maria and Cream is canning potatoes. See, I've never canned potatoes, and I know you can can almost anything. Oh, really, almost anything. I see people canning butter, canning dried beans, canning meat. I've never done any of that. Clout Gangster is here. Hickory butter. Okay, tell me, how do you make hickory butter? So that's what I wanted to talk about today is, when I first saw, I knew that I had shagbark hickory as one of the main trees that I have in my forest. And there's one down by the end of the driveway. So as soon as I pull into my driveway, there's a lot of crunching going on as I'm coming into my driveway. But this is what they look like. I think you can see that. Is that in focus? It's not like a camera where you can touch it and it goes in focus. But they're very small, and it looks like this when it falls off. It's got this hard black shell that splits into 4 pieces. It just opens up like that, very conveniently. But I really don't see the squirrels or any animals going after it. And I guess the reason is because it's very hard to open. Now, I had one of those nut bowls with the nut, what do you call that? The nutcracker with the little, pointy little things. I had a set of that for literally, 35 years. I had it all these years and I rarely used it, once in a while. And it was always in my kitchen in the Palisades. And I don't think it made it here. So maybe it got sold in the estate sale. Maybe it was one of those items that I said I never use it, so get rid of it. I don't know. But I think I thought one of these had started to open. Maybe I didn't grab the right one. At any rate, it looks like a miniature walnut or something inside. Tiny little meat in there. And so I was asking my neighbor, and he said, yeah, you can eat it. It's just really hard to get it out. And now somebody just said hickory butter. Uh, let's see. Um, for some reason, Maria, your comment was held by YouTube. She said, "I have hickory nuts too, hard as a rock. The shells are great for burning out a tree stump." So, are you saying that you make a hole in the stump and you put a bunch of the shells in there and you light them on fire and then it burns? I think that's what you're saying. Put a bucket under a vise, crack and drop the nut, and freeze so they don't go rancid. Oh, you have to freeze the nuts. I wonder if I should be freezing other nuts that I have. You know what? I bet I should have. In part of my stocking up, my prepping, so to speak, I stocked up on walnuts, well, a bunch of different kinds of nuts, but they're just sitting in there. So are you saying that the nuts are going to go rancid and that I should have put? Ah, wow. So Clout Gangster, how do you make hickory butter? Because it sounds great. Well, Rose, did your grandmother actually crack them open and dig out the meat? Because it's very. I know that there was one that was kind of open, but I don't have a hammer or anything to open it. But if they're Clout Gangster, if you could you put some sort of recipe or directions underneath this? Not in here, but underneath this. Once it posts, you can put a comment underneath it. I would love to know how to do that. I do want to try to do that. I want to get a bucket, a designated bucket, because there's another tree there. There's another one there. There's another one over there. I mean, they're all over the place. And of course, they're a lot easier to pick up if they're on the driveway. But yeah, they burn forever like charcoal. Interesting. Nuts in the shell keep for years. Okay, so that I don't have to worry about that. Pies and a special cookie she made at Christmas time. Oh, Rose, you have to share that with me. In fact, if you share that with me, I'll make the pie in a video or share it in a video or something. Let's see. What did Daryl say that you're agreeing with, Alabama Gardner? It's really interesting. I think that YouTube thinks the word nuts is something offensive. It keeps hiding these comments. So Mary Lou says she always puts her nuts in the freezer. That's a good idea, though, especially if you're buying shelled nuts in the bag, because they don't last forever. You're right. I'm going to do that as soon as I get off. We were talking about getting interns from school. Oh, to work in the garden? Is that what you mean? Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I hate to be negative. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be cynical. But it's hard to imagine finding young people today that want to work hard to learn a skill. Isn't that sad? I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Oh, well, Gina, then we will confer notes and we'll have another video. I'll have a video, not a live stream, and share, what I do with them, because I have so many. Now, I want, if there's anything else about hickory nuts, let me see if there are any other comments. Denise is here. Everybody say hi to Denise. Let me see who's here. We might have somebody here new. If we have anybody new, we only have 42 people. You guys have got to share my live streams. I want our community to grow. We want to spread the message. I can't spread I share all these things on Facebook. And, guess what? They're changing their name. Can you believe that? I just saw that today. Facebook is changing it's changing its name because it's rebranding itself. They want to be in your life even more than they are. Church, everything. So that's going to be interesting. So I share as much as I can, but I need help. So please share my channel. Let's see. And Abama is here from Mobile. And Abama, can you remind me of your name? Because I have to be reminded every week. Claudia, Indiana. I know, you know, that the video before last, it was sweltering. And all of a sudden, I mean, boom, it just changed. Now, night before last, and you're going to see this in a video. By the way, right now, I think I am 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm only 4 videos behind that have been shot. And so you may have noticed I am working very hard. I have been working very hard since I got back from the trip to upload every day. So I have uploaded the 4 or 5 videos, 6 videos since I got back. So that's like 6 videos in 8 days. I don't know if I've ever done that. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you share it, you know, give me some love and all of that. So, and I want to give a huge shout out to the people who actually support me month by month without getting anything in return other than the same thing the people who don't support me financially do. And I just really want to shout out to my patrons, my few patrons that have stood with me. Thank you so much. God bless you. Let's see. Oh, Gina, thank you. Gina says, I'm so proud of all that I've accomplished and getting to meet and greet at HOA too. Thank you. Oh, Lorraine Jones from Chesapeake, Virginia. Let me think. Is that anywhere near Chesapeake, like Maryland? No, I guess it wouldn't be. It's got to be on the Chesapeake Bay, right? I spent some time on the Chesapeake Bay. I don't remember exactly the address or the town or anything, but there was some people that we knew that had a huge old yacht. They were boating people, and they had this beautiful old property house on this property on the water. And it was the kind of house that you went in one end and you could go all the way through the house to the other end. And it was a second story, but still it was just that New England. Oh, it was just lovely. And of course they had a pool and this big boat, but the water was full of, the Chesapeake Bay was full of the jellyfish. You could not go in the water. So that was weird, but good memories up there. Let's see. Amazing Autist is here, and I think we were having a great conversation last time. I'm trying to remember. Let's see, 17th. Oh, happy birthday, Cherie. She just had a birthday on the 17th. Oh, thank you, Gina. I appreciate that. Okay, I think I'm way behind. Yeah, I went back, way back. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Claudia. She is saying she enjoyed the videos from HOA and seeing all the stars. I know. And believe me, I'm going to be at Rory Feek's events at his farm next year for sure, because that's just, I don't have to spend the night over there. I can drive over there, spend the day and come home. So if I go in my Prius, it will cost me it will cost me hardly anything. Okay. Denise is here. Denise just got back from Ohio. Cass W. Thank you. Got the notifications. Great. Claudia says, I made her feel like she should have been there. Well, at least you got to see what it was like. Oh, thank you, Gina. She shouted me out to Haas Tools. let's see. I went way back. Yeah, I know. I've got to find. Well, speaking of local trees, well, I just told Daryl yesterday, my tree trimmer that trimmed these trees had a terrible accident. If you remember that video where he was just like all guns and he's just like, taking it all down. He was just, he's like, he was at least mid 70s, maybe older. I don't know. And he was just going great guns out there. Well, he had a bad accident. A tree trunk rolled over on him or something, broke 3 of his vertebrae. So the last time I talked to him, he was in a wheelchair, but he said, I'll be back out there in November. I'm going, okay. Well, they do teach agriculture here. I don't know if they teach the kind of agriculture that we gardeners use. I mean, I think they're still stuck in the industrial, chemical farming, teaching all of that. They've been teaching all of that for a long time. And that's just not sustainable. And I wish the younger people studying it would get the drift, that regenerative agriculture is the way to go. And there's so many trailblazers leading the way on that who are actually making money. People say, oh, you can't make money unless you use chemicals. That's not true. I even went into the co-op. Very, very nice guy. Very nice guy in my local co-op here. And we were talking about chemicals and he goes, I said this with all due respect, anybody that makes an impression, that does an impression of somebody else means that you respect them. But I almost got his thing down. He kind of talks like this. He kind of says, without chemicals, the whole world would starve. I said, well, Mike, I don't know. So I just saw him yesterday again. But I'm going to have to call the extension office because surely and I know that a lot of what they're doing is involved with the chemical farmers too. So and a lot of the chemical, one of the one of the farmers who does all the industrial crops said to me of nitrogen, you put it in, you take it out. You take it. No, he said, you take it out, you put it in. I go, no, you don't understand. There's biodiversity. It's not just a question of robbing the soil of nitrogen and then putting it artificially back in. But anyway, Gabe Brown, if you want to learn more about this, just go to Gabe Brown's book because he's up in North Dakota. I'm pretty sure it's North Dakota. And his farm is just, it's called infiltration, where when it comes to heavy rain, the water soaks up in his farm like a sponge. And other farms, there will be standing water for like weeks or months. And it's because the soil has lost the ability to soak up water. And it's because there's no biodiversity. That's what it is. That's why we lose so much topsoil. And guess what? Topsoil is not replenished like that. It takes generations, to replenish topsoil. So we don't want it blowing and washing away. I feel better now. Let's see, where were we? It just jumped. I probably am going to skip a whole bunch of comments. Well, Gretchen, I wouldn't mind just sharing them with the squirrels in the winter. Speaking of winter and summer birds, speaking of birds. So I see we have some people who just joined. Thank you so much for joining. If you're new to my channel, please shout your name out and say where you live, what country you're in. We keep track of these things. just for the heck of it, just because it's nice to know where this channel is reaching. Patricia writes all this down, and I get a text about 5 minutes after the show is over. But what was I saying? Daryl was here yesterday. One of the things you have to look forward to coming up, I think it's going to be the 3rd or 4th video from now, will be his method for stacking firewood. Foolproof, incredibly simple way to stack firewood without a frame or a brace or a rack, without a rack. So, but he took a look at that bird feeder that's covered in mold, and I was not aware of this because I've never had bird feeders, and you're not supposed to leave them out all summer with all that rain underneath all those leaves, and they just stay wet. And so I've got to take those down and get them all cleaned up and cleaned out and get them ready for winter, because that's when you feed the birds, when there's not anything else. They have plenty of food now. That didn't occur to me. I thought, oh, I've got bird feeders, I'll just fill them up all the time. No. I do that with the hummingbird feeders, though. Feeder, I only have one. I do keep that stocked up. Jothan, I know that's absolutely true. You know, when I was raising my sons, I didn't allow any video games, 0. And they were only allowed to watch one TV show per week, 1 hour. I take that back. When they were younger, they got to watch very wholesome, at the time it was wholesome. I don't know what PBS is like now, but Veggie Tales and things like that. They got to watch Veggie Tales, but later, when they were grade school and stuff, they got to watch Star Trek, 1 hour. And at the time it was Next Generation. I was always been a Star Trek fan. So Next Generation was on, I think it was a Wednesday night at, let's just say 8 o'clock. And so they got to see that. The rest of the time it was nose to the grindstone and no video games, none, 0. I never allowed any of that. Xbox or nothing was not allowed in my house, nor was soda, junk food, or anything else. Oh, goodness. Lou, thank you so much. I'll try to remember that. Well, that's Daisy Joe. That's probably why he's trying to she's talking about Facebook is dead. That's probably why he's trying to reimagine it. Well, I mean, I'm sure he's already got it all figured out. He's not imagining at this point. He's got a whole plan. But that's probably why. Linda is here from Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, actually, New Mexico is right next to Arizona. And I have 2 things to say about New Mexico. Hold on a second. So do you remember the purple beans that was in my, not today's video, but yesterday's video, those beautiful purple beans, which I am letting dry on the fence. Okay, here are a few. We took them out yesterday. I hope you can see these. I was afraid of that. There's just, how do I do that? Where did it go? I dropped one. Anyway, they're really, really pretty. You see, they're like pale purple with dark purple stripes. And it's sort of, it's like a purple version of rattlesnake pole bean, kind of. This is, and I couldn't remember the name. I threw in a bunch of beans at the last minute. I had planned to just have like 4 or 5 things out there. And I had planted scarlet runners, and I didn't get one vine of that. Scarlet Runners is a pole bean, and I planted that and a bunch of other things near the trellis. But I think what happened is when those Guatemalan blue squash started coming up, the bean trellis, which I also threw in at the last minute, I was like, oh my gosh, what if nothing comes up and we've built this whole bean trellis? So I said, all right, let's throw in some squash seeds. And at the time, I didn't realize I was going to have these monster squash. And so I think maybe that crowded the beans out. Maybe they didn't get enough sun. Maybe they didn't get enough nutrients. I don't know. But at any rate, I threw some extra beans in there before that all happened, just to make sure I had something, because, I still am working with a small space garden mindset. That's what I've been doing for 9 years. And this is the first time I've had space. And so I thought, well, let me just cram a whole bunch of stuff in here. That's something I have to work against. At any rate, this is called the original. I had to look up the original beans I bought in 2017 at the National Heirloom Expo. There was a bean company called Terra Vegetables, and they're located in, actually they're in Windsor, California. That's interesting. But they had some beans from the Southwest. And this is the Rio Zape, RIO, second word, ZAPE. And origin is Southwestern heirloom from cliff dwellings of the Four Corners. And cooking, it says deep purple color, one of the most flavorful of all beans. And it says bush bean, but it climbed up, up to about here on the trellis. And this is the way they look in the bag. They don't look purple. They look brown. They look a little bit like the rattlesnake pole bean, but they have a more distinctive stripe on them. You can see that these are like light purple. So it may have something to do with the fact that we just took these out of the pod yesterday, and maybe over time they're going to turn more brown. But, these seeds now I've had in this bag for 4.5 years. So anyway. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say about not Arizona, but New Mexico, which is right next to Arizona, is I think I'm going to be going to New Mexico to Taos in March, maybe. If, depends on how things are in the world. But if planes are flying, I'm going to, my son and I are going to try to go. So that'd be awesome. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, gee, I'll have to go to your homepage. Haven't seen them. Everyone else do the same. I don't know what you were talking about because I kept talking. Let's see. You can tell me again, Daisy Joe. Linda is here from New Hampshire. Fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I can't understand why we only have 56 people. We have such great conversations, and I try to create community, and I try to bring everybody in. I want to ask questions of you, and I want you to, like the hickory nuts. I don't know anything about those. I also have a question about ginger, so I'm hoping you guys can answer me. Let's see. Daryl always has something funny to say. Right. Well, speaking of planting local seeds, if I had more things to share, I will correct this in the fall because they have twice a year Middle Tennessee plant swap. And you can't buy anything. You can only swap. And so I went to that on Saturday because one of my fans, whose name I can't remember, and if you're watching, please remind me who told me to go to that. And she told me to go to that and meet Tom Anderson because he watched my videos, Maybe he's watching this. Tom, if you're watching this, please leave a comment in the chat and say hello. You're going to meet Tom in the next video. And I got up, I left here in the dark and drove to the plant sale, which is about an hour and a half from here. And what a great group of people. And I got some plants. I took 2 big pots of cardamom, which I figured nobody's going to have that. And I didn't. And I got there and I didn't have much time because I had to go get the kitties. That was another long drive, that whole thing. So I had to leave there at 10, and I just said to Tom, if you don't mind, can you take my pots of cardamom and divide it and then trade it, And so, because he didn't bring that many things. In fact, he brought a really cool squash. Let me go get that. That's so cool. I'm sorry I didn't think to grab that before we started, but look at this. You can kind of wear this like a necklace or something, This is a, gosh, it looks like Zycachino or something like that. Paita. I'm going to have to get the official name because he wrote it on here, but it's hard to read. But, you could make, how many meals, 1-person meals could you make out of this squash, Speaking of which, wait till you see the squash I got today. I can't share it in the live stream because it's too heavy. It's between 30 and 40 pounds. But my farm stand, is only going to be open for another 3 weeks. And I went down to get some more apples because I had bought a box of apples to try to can them before I went to the I didn't know when I bought that box of apples that I was going to go to the Homesteaders of America conference. And there was just no time. I mean, there was absolutely no time to try to can them or dehydrate them or even peel them and nothing. So I just stuck the whole box in the refrigerator and I've just been snacking on them. And then I thought, well, I should go down and get some fresh apples to actually preserve, which is what I did today. Which is what I did today. But she didn't have the one that I wanted. And it's got this really interesting name. It's called Mutz. Mutza. I'm sure that's what she said. Mutza. Have you ever heard of an apple that called that? I hadn't. But it's really great for, pies and things like that because it holds its firmness, and it's not too sweet. But I just found it, you put those in the refrigerator and then you bite into that when it's hot. What a great snack. So anyway, she didn't have any today, but she said she was going to try to get me a box tomorrow. So we'll see. But she did have Arkansas Blacks. And if you've never had Arkansas Black apples, they are so good. So I just bought 4 of those to, make something with and or just to snack on. They're so good. And then I bought some pickles because I had gone to Walmart back when I was all geared up for canning. And I had bought the pickling spice for pickles and the vinegar. And that's supposedly the vinegar that you use for pickling pickles, cucumbers. And I had all that stuff and I hadn't used it. And so she still had really good ones there. And this woman that came to buy something gave them a great endorsement. She said they were very crisp and just the best pickles. So I said, okay, I am going to really try hard to make some pickles. And so I'm going to do that. So I got some pickles, and we were talking, and I got a few tomatoes, and we were talking about this. She was raving about this squash. And I said, well, what's the name of it? And she said, well, they didn't have a name because it had come up. This is at the Amish place in Kentucky. It had come up in the bed where they had something else growing, and it looked different, and they didn't know what it was. And they had even called the seed company to try to determine what this was, and they couldn't come up with it. And so they had just given it kind of a nickname. And she walked me over to see it, and these things are like 30 to 40 pounds. And it's like this long, and this big around, and gets bigger. It gets bigger on both ends, sort of middle, and then, I mean, I think a banana pepper comes up like this more. So it doesn't look like that. And it's kind of stripy, dark green and lighter green, kind of stripy. So she said, we're only going to be here 3 more weeks, and we're really trying to get rid of stuff. Do you want to just take one? And she said, you could share it with your channel. And I said, well, let me give you something. And she said, no, don't, just take it. So the two of us hauled it over to my truck. So it's still out in my truck. So I got to get it out and get it into the wagon and figure out what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to share it in a video. But I think it would make so many meals. Can you imagine if we had some sort of town hall? We could make the biggest pot of soup. She said makes the best squash soup, better than butternut. It's so, so good. So I said, well, for sure, I want to keep the seeds, even if we don't know what it is. So anyway, let me catch up with comments. Has anybody said anything that I need to know, Patricia? Kelly is here from Mississippi. Let's see. Oh, just to finish that point, Linda was saying about try to plant local seeds. So at the plant swap, these people had whole, big posters and just all these bags of seeds. And I just thought this is the place to get seeds. And I didn't have any seeds to share, and I didn't feel like, I should be asking for them or whatever. So, but in the fall, I'll definitely be doing that. Good evening, Jamela in Trinidad and Tobago. Haffy is here. Thank you for joining. Krista's here from Australia. Light Worker 1111, is that what that is? Walnut shaped like the brain, good for the brain. Yeah, you're right. Well, all the walnuts that I have are shelled in a bag, so they're not going to stay that, I need to put them in the freezer. Listen, if you want black walnuts, Sharon, I'm always promoting Sharon because Sharon Carson of, let's see, sharonsnaturalgardens.com. She has, I don't know, something like 30 black walnut trees all in this 1 acre, or about an acre or half an acre or something. And so she sells black walnuts, and they're really good for you, and she could use your support. So please go to sharonsnaturalgardens.com. We want to preserve and use the information. Use, that's not the right word, but she shares information all of the time. And when our elders are gone, they're gone, and so we need to hand that knowledge down. She has tinctures. She makes those beautiful willow baskets that you see me use. And I've gotten all kinds of things from her. My cardamom, I got live cardamom plants from her, strawberries. She has all kinds of stuff. So if you want to support a family farm, go to sharonsnaturalgardens.com. In addition, I'm going to be an affiliate. I haven't signed up yet. I haven't had time. Seeds of Generations. And I just noticed also that my buddy Scott Head is also an affiliate. So if you're already supporting Scott with that affiliate, then I totally understand. He's a great guy. And if you're not, I hope you'll support me when I get that set up, because Seeds of Generations is a family farm and they have all kinds of wonderful heirloom seeds. Okay, Edwin is here. Oh, fantastic. Where in New England are you, Edwin? Ah, Lynn is here from Pegram. Yes, I know. Lynn, do you remember one of the runners-up of the apple pie contest? She had the prettiest pie. She may be watching right now. I don't remember her name. She contacted me on Facebook and asked me, she's trying to tweak her recipe so that she can make it more palatable for the Southern taste buds, and kind of picking my brain about what we thought about her pie and stuff. And I was happy to share my thoughts on that. At any rate, I just thought it was interesting. Do you remember the really? Of course you do. It was the prettiest pie, hands down, and so that's hers. That's great, Kelly. Kelly raised her girls on educational games, books, and veggies. Awesome. You'll have to share that link with me, Happy. He said he just watched a great video using acorns for making all kinds of things for food sources. Sherry says, oh, the beans will turn. And I'm assuming you mean these light purple will turn darker. Linda G, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Brian from St. Louis is here. Do you use the regular kind of nutcracker that you use with pecans and walnuts? Because these are half the size, very small. Maybe they have a scaled down version of the nutcracker and the little pick that you pick out the meat. Oh my goodness. I didn't know anything. I didn't know you could book a stay in an Earth ship. Coco is here. Welcome. Everybody, hit that like button if you haven't already. We're having a great conversation today about hickory nuts, Mutza apples, and heirloom Rio Zappe beans, among other things. And squash. Yes, Kelly's asking the proverbial question about squash. Is there a way to treat a squash that's fruit is falling off before it even blooms? Well, hang on. You don't have fruit on a squash before it blooms. You have a bloom, and behind that bloom is the developing squash. If the bloom gets pollinated and all goes well in terms of watering and not, so all that squash will develop. It has to be pollinated from the male flower on the same morning that they open together. They're only open for a couple of hours, so that has to be pollinated with that in order for that to get bigger. So, not to be too graphic, but that's the way it works. So when you see them falling off, it's usually after the bloom uh, falls off, and you think, oh, it's gonna develop, and then it doesn't. It shrivels up and falls off. It didn't get pollinated properly. If anybody else has anything to contribute to that piece of conversation, please do. Well, that squash is, if you're talking about that big squash, Denise, that's going to get eaten. And somehow I'm going to cube it up and put it in freezer bags, and then have, she said, put onion and chicken broth, salt and pepper, and just cook it down. And she said it's not stringy at all. It's so it's like silk going through that. You can hold up a strainer, and she said it's just like silk going down. It's I can't wait to try it. Yeah, that's just it, Linda. It's a lot of work. But, I like to do little things like that at night, when I'm tired. I love seed saving. Did you see that post? I love saving seeds at night, just kind of listening to my podcasts and just doing that. So I can imagine that I might, maybe after a whole night, I could just get that many done. Let's see. Well, yeah, I need to learn about that, but I just, my fermenting was kind of disastrous, which I hope to be making a video about that. I don't think I'm going to eat anything that I tried fermenting. Just, I'm scared. Teddy June, I agree. I love Stacy's ferments. I love other people's ferments. I was buying fermented vegetables from. Yeah, I know. Oh, it's 6 o'clock. Lyndon just walked in and told me it was 6 o'clock. It's time to feed her. By the way, she's fine. She did really well. Say hi. Say hi. There you go. Okay, down. She's the only one that gets to go inside, to be inside, because she has never scratched the furniture. Can you believe? Or rugs or anything. Nope, she never did. I had a 2-story house, and I had this sisal cat scratching post on the landing. And of course I had her from a kitten, so I trained her. But I would put I would put the litter box upstairs and the food downstairs. So she would have to go past this scratching post several times a day, every day. And she would always scratch that, and she never scratched the furniture. But these guys have a razor sharp claws, because they climb trees, and I want them to be able to escape predators and stuff. So I can't trim their nails, so they cannot come in the house. Anyway, I love ferments, and I was buying ferments from, I wish I could remember the name of it now, but she actually started delivering as soon as we had the lockdown. So every Sunday I would just text her what I wanted, and she would bring that. And she had this wonderful turmeric fermented cauliflower and cabbage. And I ate those fermented vegetables with every meal. Hi, Lisa. I'm not in the, not really. As you're heading east from Nashville, when things start looking less like you're in the city, I live past there. It has grown so much. And I just heard when I was down at the plant swap that Murfreesboro is just being swallowed up by the Nashville growth, Mount Juliet. I mean, it's just like that. So I just, I lived in Manhattan for 7 years. I lived right south of Hollywood for 4 years, and then 25 years in Pacific Palisades. And which of course is a really nice neighborhood of LA, but still it's underneath 3 flight paths, and everybody's got a gardener, and there was just constant construction. One house goes down, another one comes up, or it's always construction. So I'm just so happy to be out of all that. And plus, I'm trying to protect my aging brain from electromagnetic frequency. This is a Faraday lined, this cap is lined with Faraday cloth. So if you don't know anything about that, just look it up. What is a grange? Granges. I don't know what a grange is. Let's see. I'm way behind here. Let's see. I don't know, Mike. Actually, I don't know. He's not working here. Let's see. Hey, Jack is here, and he got his manure. Excuse me. He got his compost, and it smelled like manure, and it had flies. And how is it smelling now, Jack? Yes, the Cortland. I had some Cortland's apples, and they're very good. Yeah, and they did come from the. No, he wasn't. No. We just decided to reassess going forward. So I guess he's working. I don't know what he's doing. Just a small hammer. I assume you're talking about cracking the nuts. A pair of vice grips. When you say vice grips, that's just like pliers, or I'm not sure what vice grips are, to tell you the truth. I probably have some, but I just don't know the difference between pliers and vice grips. Well, Jack, yeah, I hope she heard your comment. I don't know the answer to that. If you could post that underneath the video, Happy, that would be great. That video about the acorns. Let's see. Yes, well, she's going to try again, Lynn, next year. But it's funny because the apple pie contest, I know you can't change when the fair is, but the apple pie, it's not the best time for apples, So like right now, or October, early October would have been the best time to have an apple pie contest because all these wonderful apples are coming in. And you have to rely on supermarket store-bought apples which are trucked in from somewhere. When was the fair? It was in August, I think. Let's see. Yes, I actually bought a whole large piece of Faraday cloth, but I don't have time to sew, so I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Maybe I'll just use it as a sheet and put it over my head when I'm sleeping. I don't know. Heirloom Permaculture and Preparedness. Hello, please tell us your name and where you're located. Cherie is gone. Let's see. I've got to go to local Grange Halls and. Oh, I see. Yeah. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So when you yeah. I know what you're talking about. It has the little screw on one side, Jothan, on the pliers. Yes, right. That's right. August 15th. Have you seen John? I've really been thinking about him a lot. I'm going to have to contact him. Let's see. Heather is here. Hello. John in Northeast Oklahoma. Fantastic. Thank you for joining. I think, is this your first time in my channel? Because I don't remember that big, long name. Right. And you know what? Actually, I don't recall seeing a pair of those after I left my California house. So I guess I didn't wind up with that. I probably need to get some. Midnight in Southwest UK. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for staying up so late, Heather. Listen, it's after 6 o'clock, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I don't know where everybody is, but make sure you grab a friend and join next Wednesday, because we have great conversations, 5 o'clock Central Standard Time. And I just want to keep trying to be an inspiration for all. I know there's a lot of competition for channels and time. Everybody's busy. And of course, all the stuff that's going on in the world. So I really appreciate you spending this hour with me. Please hit that like button on your way out. And God bless each and every one of you. Stay safe and well, and I'll see you next week.